Hello and welcome to this special presentation titled A Golden Opportunity. My name is Steve Chappell, the Director of Trading Systems Development here at VectorVest, and I've got a blockbuster presentation I think in store for all of you. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look at this tremendous opportunity in the gold market that's still intact to this very day. And I guess the best place to start, as usual, will be right with the words from our founder, Dr. Bart DeLito, that were written in the VectorVest Views on June 21st, 2019, when he said it's time to buy gold. For those that might have missed it, let's go take a look at what he had to say. So here we are in VectorVest 7. I'll go right up to the top and click on the Views tab, which is our daily investment newsletter, right? And so I'll dial this back. We'll go back to June and then the 21st. When we get there, at the bottom of the essay is where you would have found it. So it pays to make sure that you read the complete essay in entirety, because at the bottom here's where it says time to buy gold. With the prospects of lower interest rates returning and a softer dollar, gold has been on a tear lately. VectorVest gave the Gold Bugs Index, the HUI, a buy rating on June the 4th at $167 per share. Our Midas Touch system then confirmed the buy rating yesterday at $189 per share. So that would have been on June the 20th. Okay, and he says here, quite simply, it's time to buy gold. So it leaves nothing to the imagination, right? But let's revisit what we're seeing here in the words, take it over to the picture, and show you just how good these indications really have been. So we'll make a departure from the views. We'll go right up here to the Graphs tab. From the Graphs tab, we will type in the HUI into the stock search. We'll hit enter on the keyboard. And as we can plainly see, just right out of the gate, gold has been on a tear, really ever since about May 30th on this most recent leg up. So let's dial the chart in with the correct indications that were referenced in the views. Well, lucky for us, right at the top, we have recommendation already on our chart. If for some reason you don't see it on yours, you can simply come to the bottom and click on the recommendation button. When we do that, I'll simply slide over to the first date here as of late that we've given gold a buy in terms of the HUI. That would have been, as written in the views, on June the 4th, and we can see what gold has done from there. Now, for those that are new to VectorVest, you may not be aware, but for those that have been with VectorVest for a little length of time, will surely know that over here on the right, we have a timing model for gold. And it's called the Midas Touch. So when we click on the Midas Touch layout, as Todd Schaefer eloquently demonstrated back on June the 28th, it's very simple in terms of interpretation. You know, gold is a volatile index. Very seldom do you stack a bunch of just persistent upward bars together. There's lots of gyration and movement back and forth. And so recommendation profile, as you've seen, can be a great way to go. Certainly start nibbling at stocks on change of recommendation there to try to get ahead of the game. And then when you're solidified by signal here, continue to add to the fire, right? So if I come here to where we have a bullish crossover on our moving averages and a change in the histogram displayed below from bearish to bullish, that would occur on June 20th, right here. And so this is how the system works. Let's cover the indicators and we'll go from there. So on the top, we have a couple of moving averages. Over on the right, you can then use your graph panel and you'll see that we have a couple of moving averages on stop price, STOP. So real quick, just to recap, stop price is a 13-week moving average adjusted for fundamentals on the stock itself. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is re-smooth it out even more with these moving averages. So we're going to put a 10 moving average on the stop price along with a 65. And what that does is provide reliable time frame to where when we have a cross, we feel good about entry into the gold market. And that'll be with confirmation that we'll learn about here in just a second. Okay. So first thing we look for is the green above the red, is the 10 above the 65. And on June 20th, check, that's the case. So then we look to confirmation with a moving average on relative timing. And this look back period is a 40 on relative timing. Okay, so if that is crossed above 1, it confirms the stop price crossover on the top graph. And so we need crossovers in both areas. Okay, but that's signal. That's how we get buy signal by this system. And of course the sell signal would be just the opposite. 10 falls below the 65 and the 40-day moving average of RT climbs back, or falls back below 1 rather. So as you can see, and as I indicated in my little strategy blurb, we are continuing to be firmly bullish on the gold market even right now, because as we look at the chart, we can see strengthening in the moving averages, and we see strengthening in relative timing moving average below as well. But that will be something to keep an eye on, because as the slope starts to change from up to more sideways, that'll let you know that some of the steam is coming out of the gold market. But we won't turn fully bearish on gold until both of those crossovers occur. So everything is looking fine and dandy on a current basis. Okay? Now the most opportune time to have played gold would have been maybe start taking some nibbles, as Dr. DeLito pointed out in the essay, when recommendation changes to buy, and then simply add to the fire, or, if you'd like, wait for even more confirmation by way of the Midas Touch signal. What we'll do real quick is just point out how this would have been handy on the prior run in gold as well, as we did turn to a buy here on October 11th, well in advance of your Midas Touch signal, which would have occurred December the 14th. And was bullish, for a good while after that. So again, recommendation profile, don't fall asleep at the wheel, and definitely pays off to eyeball that change to get an early signal on when to buy gold, and then further confirmation and super confirmation delivered by the Midas Touch crossovers themselves. All right, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, and now that we realize that in looking at the right-hand edge of the graph that it still may very well be a beautiful golden opportunity to buy stocks, let's take a look at where do we find them, right? So the natural question becomes, where can I find the best gold stocks to buy? Well, fortunately for you, here at VectorVest, we're not shy about always shedding light on opportunities wherever they may be found, right? And so here's 3 great ways where we could have been finding some great golden opportunities over the past month and a half or so now. One place, probably the easiest place to deduce, would be Unisearch. Todd gave a wonderful presentation again on June the 28th and detailed 7 strategies, or 8 I believe, that could be selected and used. 3 of them would have required you to change a filter, but let's look at the ones that would not have, okay, and start there. So, we'll see how some of these strategies would have performed from June the 28th should you have followed that guidance. Okay, so I'm going to jump back over to VectorVest, and we'll pick it up right back in Unisearch. We'll move our date back to June the 28th. We'll come over here to the left, and it'd be easiest, for me in this case anyway, as I was looking at Todd's presentation and just kind of paused it on the point where he detailed or listed the strategies, then I can come in the Unisearch tool, and by alphabet I can go down and find some gold strategies. Now, since it's gold, the easiest place to do, or think about doing, is just simply hit G on the keyboard. Once you've selected a strategy, that'll take you down to the G section, and we can look for gold, right? So not too difficult to find, really. Let's see what we can do with gold bugs, right? So click on the strategy. It produces the criteria out here to the right. Ooh, looks like we can get into some fun little stuff potentially with this strategy. So let's see what we find when we run the search. So this would have been the list of candidates as they would have appeared that weekend or that evening when you tried to produce a list for yourself. And let's see how these top, say 10 stocks have performed. So we'll rerun the search just now so you can see the actual 10 here on the list. Unnecessary step, I suppose, but we'll come up here to the top then, and we'll quick test all. Makes it easy from that perspective. Otherwise, you'd simply just want to quick test the top 10 positions. When we do that, on a buy and hold basis, realizing a little bit of slippage, of course, on entry and exit and things of that nature, but has it positioned us with the potential to make a good bit of profit on the gold market, all the while the market, the VectorVest composite, is lower by 1.5%. These stocks, if traded as a portfolio, given the exact same price points, are up 12.84%. So I think we can clearly say that this has been a great place to look to outperform the stock market. All right, so some interesting little stocks in here, to be sure. There's more strategies to choose from. So if you're a little bit uncomfortable with some of the price points there, maybe some of the liquidity in certain instances, we can continue to go through the list, and other opportunities could surely arise. So we'll look at Gold Digger, since we don't want to look at the bearish strategy for gold. We'll run the search. Here's a different list of stocks. There are some continual stocks showing on multiple lists. I think FSM, MTAFF. But if we quick test this basket, 18.43%. Getting a little bit better price point overall here with these stocks. And so, remember, gold has just really been the pits for a better part of at least 5 years, and is just now really starting to get going. So it's not surprising to see some really low prices on actually some pretty decent stocks overall in some cases. But that's certainly an even better return on investment if we chose, say, that basket. Here's another one, Gold Rush Bull. Here we're getting up in price a little bit more, so the $5 or more variety, and much more average volume to boot. So let's go ahead and run this one and see how we do here. Now, it wouldn't be surprising to see a little bit less of a percentage, given that we're dealing with a little bit higher dollar value on the stock. We can see with AU, certainly Kirkland Lake, who has been kind of best of breed now in the gold market for a long while, carry much higher price points, right? So let's go ahead and quick test all of these. And so you know what? I mean, look what happened here now. As you get up into the $5 area, one of the nice things that's happened is a lot of the losers are coming off, see? And you're still getting some incredible performance with even higher quality stocks. Tremendous performance here, 14%. And as we look across and just kind of eyeball some of the data here, you're now getting into a position where a good number of the stocks have nice RV ratings. We're getting a little better with the safety in some cases, and they're still very hot in terms of high relative timing. So a great little strategy there, Gold Rush Bull. And that might become more interesting as I get to my next subject matter. But nonetheless, a great strategy there. And so let's just keep going. We'll go to good gold stocks. Well, if I'm looking for good stocks to buy, good gold stocks would probably ring a bell, I suppose. So let's run that one and see how this list would have performed. So here, kind of in between, in terms of prices and that we saw prior, with Kirkland and some of those being much higher. But still, pretty comfortable price points for most people, I would say. Let's go ahead and quick test this basket. And yep, because we're coming down a little bit, we're kind of in the middle here, with good gold stocks in terms of price point and so forth. We get a little bit extra performance out of that, because gold has just been so hot, so incredibly hot. And believe it or not, 10 out of 10 here, So what's been our aptitude or propensity to make money had we just even cherry-picked a few stocks from any of these strategies? I'd say you got a far better than average chance, to walk away with some really good profit, no matter which way you decide to go. And, this is without getting too much into the detail on exactly what each one is finding and so on. More so just to point out, hey, listen, we put this at your fingertips, and, had you followed suit and done some of this for yourself, you really would have put yourself in nice position. And there are some stocks in here that you'll see a little later on that are hot stock picks like EGO, and we saw Kirkland earlier and a few others. And so we'll get to that here in a minute. But certainly just simply by running the searches, knowing that we're bullish on gold, we've seen several indications that it's time to buy. We read in the VectorVest views, it's time to buy gold. There would have been some great opportunity here, even if we were a little bit late to the party. Because remember, this is now more than a week after the signal to buy. So for example, if I just take this back, and go to the 20th, quick test, it's up even a little more, right? And if we go back before that, it's up a lot more, right? And so, yeah, it would have really paid to take a nibble even early based upon recommendation profile change on the Huey itself. And so hopefully all this information is coming together nicely for each and every one of you, because if you take the time to come to VectorVest University and you do it religiously, it's going to pay off. So we're glad you're here with us today. Another way that we could have stumbled across some great picks would have been in the daily Colorguard report with our hot stock picks from the staff. So we've made several great picks on gold. The first one coming in on July the 2nd of this year. So we've been doing it for a while now, in case you missed it. Let me go and get us back over into VectorVest. And I'm just going to go over to the Portfolios tab. From the Portfolios tab, I'm then going to find that portfolio for us. All right, so here's hot stocks from July the 2nd, 2019. Here's Kirkland Lake up there at the top, up 7.72 from that point. Here's Nugget, up 49.3% from that point. And so a couple of great stock picks on the gold market there for sure. Boy, look at Enphase. You want to talk about a great little stock right now is that Enphase. Up 75.7. Hard pressed to find a better growth stock in the stock market right now than Enphase. All right, anyway, more on that at a different time. We're talking gold right now. So let's go to the next pick. And we're going to go to July the 10th. So here on July the 10th, the one to highlight here, EGO was a great hot stock pick at this point, since it's produced 21.5% return since picked. And listen, I don't want to get into could I have gotten 21.64%? That's not the point. The point is you could have made a good chunk of that. And so watch the daily Colorguard report. Look at the hot stock picks. We can put you in good position, particularly if you're paying attention to everything that's going on in VectorVest. Like the gold market is hot. Let me go to the next one. Let's go to 7:15. So here on 7:15, Kirkland Lake again. In case you missed it the first time, well, now we're only up about 5% on Kirkland, but you're positioning yourself in one of the best overall quality stocks in the whole space. And so the propensity to continue to make money with something like a Kirkland is extremely likely, extremely high. Let's go to 7:16. On 7:16, this little K92 mining. Now I believe this one might actually be a little more difficult for some of you in terms of getting access to, as I believe it's more of a pink sheet kind of a position here. But listen, 17.5% return. Also on 7:16, however, we did pick the one just above it. And this was conducive for anyone, and that one's doing even better. This Centerra Gold, 18 and more than 0.5%. And again, realizing we get a good chunk of that, really solid chunk. So in terms for mining for gold in VectorVest, you really have to look no further than the hot stock picks here in the recent past. And I get, if the gold market continues to be hot, you're going to see more hot stock picks here in the very near future, focusing on gold. That I can guarantee. Some of you may be wondering why we haven't looked at a number of graphs yet on these stocks. Well, we're going to get a chance to do that here as I get to the next part of this presentation. And that's going to be on the HSPC, the Hot Stock Picking Challenge. You know, one of the things that I'm certainly very, very delighted to see is that one of our user groups up in Canada in the Regina area has really been paying attention. And they took some of the information that we have been highlighting and probably some of their own awareness, and they put it all to work. And the way that they did it, it was just fantastic. You know, and so with what we've learned from them so far, what they did, quite simply, they picked all gold stocks, okay? And the competition began on August 1st, and they are winning the competition right now. Let me quickly show you that, and then I'll tell you what they did. So here is the user group Hot Stock Picking Challenge. In here, if you go to VectorVest.com/HSPC, you can look at this at any time you like, and you can go down and see who's winning and how much they're making overall, and on any given day, you can see how many winners they've had. Boy, I tell you, when you look at HSPC Regina, Saskatchewan up here, 14.73%. Just got a slight lead now, though, on Ontario. Boy, look at Canada representing up here at the top. My goodness. But anyway, you can come out here to the right and look at the number of winners in Regina. And I want you to remember that. Look at the number of winners here, because there's an important thing we're going to pass along, and that has to do with the charts. Okay, so if I come over here a little bit further to the right, I'm going to click on the bars. That way we can see the performance pretty much going up every day, right, until just this past day. And then you can see all the stocks that they picked, and lo and behold, you know, they got Kirkland in here, they got AU, which has been on a heck of a tear. You know, if we sort by gain loss, 23%, 20, 16, 15, 14, 14, 12. You know, the biggest loser is up 9.5%. Not had to really do anything but just sit back and watch these guys get to work, you know. And so Stan Heller, I know up in Canada in the essay up there in the VectorVest Views, is going to be writing about what they did here. But what they did was quite simple. You know, in advance of the competition, they got together as a group. They sat down and said, okay, look, gold market's hot. We're seeing all the indications we need to see. These guys over in the States, you know, the gang over there, they're writing it up. They're talking about it's time to buy gold. And we see a lot of things we like on our charts, whatever, right? And they sat down and said, what's the easiest way we can find out what the hottest strategy is to find the best stocks? And it was to do what we just did moments ago. And what they did was they quick tested the gold strategies from July the 1st till the date of the meeting. And then what they did next, I think, was the best idea. And that was they found what strategy was up the most, and they decided to go with that one. But they also graphed the top 20 stocks to find the top 10 stocks with the best price and earnings patterns. And that's where the money is. That's where the money is. So let me show you what I mean. The strategy that they chose was, in fact, Gold Rush. Okay, and so let's go back over to VectorVest here real quick. Gold Rush Bull, I believe. So let's go back into VectorVest. We'll come back up here to Unisearch. And while I'm not going to go through the lengthy process of running all the quick tests, we're going to take them at their word, because I'm not able to run them. I'm not sure what date they got together, any of those things. I just know they detailed some of the process for us. Okay, we'll come over here to Gold Rush Bull. We'll move this date forward a little bit. I think we can comfortably go to, let's say, July the 26th or so. Run the search. And there's a few stocks in this list that you can see in their portfolio right out of the gate, and some of the better performers at that. AU, Kirkland. So what they did, guys, and without fully telling us, because they only said that they looked at who had the best trends in terms of price and earnings, I can only assume here at this point for now that what they did was graph them all. And quite simply, we'll go to VectorVest layouts. And then here at the bottom, we're going to take everything off except for price and then put on earnings. And I'm just going to fill that in for you here. And what they did was here's where I don't know the precise thing that they did. They looked at a length of time, okay? And so we'll just use the last year. And what they did was they wanted to find stocks who had the most favorable price pattern. Usually that equates to smoother, steadier rising price. Certainly want to find higher highs, higher lows, those kinds of things. And then good earnings performance. Okay, and so AU certainly fits the bill. But what we need to do is compare this chart to some of the other ones, realizing of the top 20, we'll favor the 10 that have the best, the best of the bunch. But look at this acceleration in earnings here as of late. And that could have been a key component, because this earnings acceleration, remember, this is your window into the future. What this is telling you is that a year from now, starting in July, this company is really forecasted to hit the cover off the ball for the next year down the line. And usually what you get then is accelerating price, right? Because I don't know about you, but if a company's going to be making a lot more money in the future than they are right now, let's say a year from now, I'm interested, right? And so you can bet you're not the only one. So tremendous performance there, and that's just a couple of things to think about. So as we go down through here, you can see Sibanye really started to click along with their earnings and is really accelerating nicely on a forecasted basis. Kirkland, this is why I said it's one of the better gold stocks in the market right now. It's not just what Steve thinks. I'm looking at VectorVest, man, and what you see is smooth and steady earnings performance and the resulting smooth and steady price performance up top. So certainly there is some impact on the movement of gold, even on a Kirkland Lake. But I tell you, one thing to remedy some of that volatility is that earnings performance you see down there. Investors like that. I don't know about you, but again, I certainly do. So VectorVest is your best friend. Favor the ones that have the smoother, steadier price, smoother, steadier earnings, and hopefully accelerating earnings, like we saw with AU. But even here with Kirkland, that's kind of the best of all world situations when you can find both of them at the same time. So I leave you with that. I think it's a wonderful way. Just get right in there in Unisearch, run some of those strategies we just talked about. You saw how how those strategies are performing. Do the same thing. Think about the same thing that the user group did in Regina, and do it for yourself and make VectorVest work for you. So I hope this has been very enlightening. I trust that it has. So thanks for attending, guys, and we'll see you right back here next week with your next blockbuster strategy for your special presentation. And don't forget the daily Colorguard report this week. As you've seen already several times now, that's the place to be during the week. Talk to you later. Bye now.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Now, if you're new to the software or would like refresher information about the software, click on this Getting Started video right here. Thanks to all of your input, here's a YouTube video that we think would be perfect for you. Click right here. If nothing else, folks, just hit the subscribe button right here.